Hello and welcome back. Now, I've been asked several times over the years, how do I find my locations? So I thought I'd make a quick video going over the basics of how I do it. Some of you will already know this information. It's more aimed at people that are new into the whole wild camping sort of setup. This is not talking about permission sites. This is talking about random locations, woodland, that you can get easy access to and not get into trouble. So let's move to the computer. Let me show you. Right, I hope that's clear enough. I've just got my camera in front of the laptop. Not the easiest way to film it, but hey, I'm old tech. That's the way I'm doing it. Now, I've got 3 tabs open here. The first one is Bing Maps. I'll show you why I use that in a second. Second one being Google Maps, because they normally give the best aerial view. Plus there's another little feature that I like using on there. First thing I've got up is the OS map symbol guide. Now this is a bit that most of you will probably know, but I just thought I'd quickly nip through the basics. The rights of way, normally green dotted line on most scales. Sometimes it's in pink, but they use the same symbols for footpath, bridleway, and the 2 types of byways, restricted and unrestricted. All of these are public access. You can walk all of them. So that's normally getting you in. Now, if I come down, this is the interesting bit. Access land. You see how it's got this bordered, I don't know what colour you call that, sort of a pinky beigey sort of colour. Countryside Rights of Way Act. So we're talking about National Trust, Forestry England, the Woodland Trust, them sort of people. That's normally their ground. So let's nip over to the other 2 tabs. Google Maps. This is the area I'm going to show you. I have been here filming a few times and I have camped here. I don't normally give away locations, but we'll show this one. It's a massive, massive piece of woodland. If I click and move that, you'll see it actually goes right up here, right across to here, down across the other side of the reservoir, all over the place. Where I'm concentrating on is this area here, for several reasons. Let me skip over to the Bing Map version. Now this is the Ordnance Survey map, which is one of the reasons why Bing Maps is very handy. If you click the little icon, you can use an ordinary road map. You can do aerial views on it, although it's not as clear as Google Maps, so I tend not to use that quite so much. But the thing I use the most, of course, is the Ordnance Survey. Here's an example of the footpaths. I don't know if you can see my little cursor. You see the dotted lines all over the place here, all in red, because of the scale of the map. If I drop in closer, it'll change to the other type of mapping, a better scale, and now they have turned green. Now, if you look around this Breed High Woods, can you see there? It's got this border all around it. And also, if you see this piece of woodland compared with this piece of woodland, is 2 different colours. This is private, although you can walk through it. There's a public footpath. This is open access for the public. So although there's footpaths, you don't have to stay on the footpath. You can wander anywhere within that boundary. So lots of options. Now, although I've walked all of this wood, I think it's a very nice place. The reason I concentrated down the bottom end here, where it's marked Pondwood, is it's not Forestry Commission. It's one of the trusts anyway, and it's all open to the public. Access off this top road is very good, and there's public car parks up there, which is very handy for parking. But of course, if you leave your car in the public car park overnight, it's pretty obvious that you're not having a walk at 2 in the morning. It will be obvious that something's up. And also, people tend not to walk too far. So they're not going to walk far from their cars. They tend to be in this top half of the woodland. So of course I went to the other extreme end. I went down here. Don't see a soul. Although there is an official public footpath here. When I looked, it seemed virtually unused. You just don't get people down here. So the next question is, depending on how far you want to walk, where do you leave the car? So this was my target area. Back to Google Maps. The feature I love on Google Maps is the street side. Let's grab the little blokey. Anywhere lit up in blue, you can have a good look at. So drop myself on there. Let's pan around. This is the beginning of the road. And hey presto, just down the road, there's an access gate. There's probably room to park 3, maybe 4 cars. And you can enter next to that gate. There's a proper little gap for walkers to go through. I don't know quite how well it shows on this one. Yeah, it does show on this one okay. If I enlarge that slightly. That track that's marked there, that one, that's that gateway. So about where this black line finishes is where the car parking is. And when I filmed my update video about a fortnight ago, I was essentially above this letter A. I was about here. It's a real dead-end back road. Hardly anyone ever drives down it. So it's a very quiet location. So you can be quite close to the road without being disturbed. And you can access this type of place 24 hours a day. There's nothing to say that you can't. There is no rules, or at least on their site I've looked, about camping. They just don't mention it. Normally if people have an issue, it actually says no camping. But certainly on the signage that's this end of the wood, there's no mention of that. Doesn't mean you can do it, but it's just not on their radar. The only other thing to check out on the mapping, on the little symbols here, you've got the proper shaped trees, shall I say, and the little arrows, which are fir trees. So you've basically got deciduous and non-deciduous, depending on what type of woodland you want, isn't it really? If you want a traditional English type woodland, you look for these symbols. This is more likely to be the fir plantation type woodland there. The only other things that you'll see, let's find a good example of it, is these little sort of stick ones. That's normally a coppiced piece of woodland, which can be quite dense. Depends, how long since it's been coppiced. And then you've got these little symbols here, which are normally marshy bits of ground. So just things to look out for, really. The other thing to check for is, of course, these brown contour lines, which is basically just the height above sea level. Now, when lines are close together, like here, it's a steep bank. When they're quite well spaced like this, you're more likely to find some flat ground. So, it's just something to sort of bear in mind. But that is the basics of how I first check out a location. I will tend to use the aerial mapping on Google first, because it's pretty obvious to spot a big lump of woodland. And then I'll flick over to Bing. I'll see what footpaths there are, whether it's open access or whether it's private woodland, and of course the parking options. But yeah, that's basically how I find my locations. If I page out, I don't know quite how much it I'll show around here, but there's, you know, woodland, 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 woodland. I'm surrounded with it in my area. It is the edge of the High Weald. If I page down a little bit, this is the edge of the town. So I live down here. So right on the edge of town, I've got this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Most of them aren't an issue to stay in if you're careful. Another sort of two examples here. Beauport, private woodland, but it's got a footpath through it. Greatwood at Battle, you can see it's got the highlighted border all around it. So that is public access. Have a quick look there, zoom in a little bit. Yeah, Greatwood. That has got the little symbol on it. I can't remember which one that is, with the little purple square with the trees. But it's one of the woodland trusts or that type of thing. So that is basically how I find my locations. Just a little bit of map work. And of course, once you've identified something, you've got to go there on foot. Pop there during the daytime, have a wander around, spend an hour or so, see how many people you see, how quiet it is, what the traffic noise is like, all that sort of thing, to whether it suits you and what you're looking for. So that is the basics. I will put a couple of photos on the end of the video with the symbols and that sort of thing that I use to identify rights of access and that sort of rubbish. As I say, most of you will know this. It's more aimed at people that are new, want to get into it, not necessarily find somewhere to camp, maybe just find somewhere that they can have a nice wander around and not worried about getting told off, disturbed, just somewhere to chill out. So I hope you find that useful.